In part one of this series, we talked about the tricky cognitive illusion that causes high achievers to inadvertently cap their own performance. If your brain gets stuck below the line, if your brain gets stuck in a threatened, fearful state, that can lead you to work like crazy. And you can think that that's what high performance looks like. But the reality is that you can access even better performance without the stress and the burnout if you can bring your brain above the line, if you can bring your brain back into an unthreatened flow state. In part two of this series, which I've also linked above, we talked about why your brain gets stuck below the line sometimes. It is not because there's something wrong with you. It's because of two simple phenomena that affect every single person on Earth. They are self-fulfilling prophecy and confirmation bias. When those two things strike, they can accidentally keep your brain stuck below the line instead of it just bouncing out of that state quickly like it's supposed to. And I also told you, healthy human brains get stuck below the line. Just because your brain is stuck below the line sometimes does not automatically mean you have a chronic anxiety problem or deep unresolved trauma or anything like that. Healthy human brains get stuck below the line sometimes. Just like how healthy human immune systems sometimes run a fever a little too hot. And so when your brain gets stuck below the line, you need simple manual interventions to just help pull it back out, just like how when your fever gets a little too hot, you need to take a little Tylenol. Now we're going to start talking about how to pull your brain from below the line to above the line, and I'm going to walk you through the 5 R's of bringing your brain back above the line. They are recognize, reposition, reveal, reframe, repeat. And we're going to go through them one by one over the next few days. Today, we're going to cover the first R, which is recognize. If you want to pull your brain back above the line, the first thing you have to do is recognize when it's not above the line. You can't solve the problem if you don't even know that the problem is happening. So from today onwards, I want you to start building the habit of asking yourself, where am I? Where is my brain right now? Is my brain below the line or above the line? Here are 3 ways that you can tell where your brain is. Way number 1, how do you feel? Being below the line usually feels pretty bad. You'll probably be feeling something like fear, anxiety, stress, anger, irritation, indignation. You might feel shame, inadequacy, not good enoughness, or you might even feel resignation, heaviness, hopelessness. All those negative, kind of unpleasant emotions usually indicate that your brain is below the line. On the other side, being above the line usually feels pretty good. You might feel something like focused, motivated, compelled, steady, grounded, in flow, playful, creative, light, relaxed, calm, unattached, or even compassionate, understanding, empathetic. All of those more pleasant, often more positive emotions usually indicate that your brain is above the line. So a few times today, I just want you to check in. How are you feeling? And based on that, where is your brain? Is your brain below the line or above the line? Here's way number 2 to tell where your brain is. You can ask yourself, what are you doing? If checking in with how you're feeling is a little too hard, you can just literally look at yourself and see what are you doing right at the second. In part 1 of this series, I told you about the common things that brains tend to do when they're above or below the line. When your brain is below the line, you tend to do one of these 5 things. You might hit the gas and go towards the thing that your brain perceives as a threat. You might go towards your bad performance by overworking, by just working all hours of the night and thinking about work all the time and ruminating and never stopping thinking about it. You might also hit the gas and go away from the threat of bad performance by procrastinating, and you find yourself just doing anything and everything you could possibly do except for your work. You might also hit the brakes and go towards the threat, which means you kind of try in this half-hearted way. You tell yourself it's probably not going to work, but you just go through the motions. Or you might also hit the brakes and then go away from the threat, which is just you give up. You feel heavy, you feel like nothing's really possible, you just don't do anything. Or you might also freeze. It kind of feels like your brain is hitting the gas and hitting the brakes at the same time, and you're just like a deer in headlights. You're not able to do anything. Those are some of the things that your brain tends to do when it's below the line. In part 1 of the series, I walk through all this in a lot more detail, but for the purposes of this, you can just notice, am I doing one of these things? Am I somewhere on this matrix? And if I am, I'm probably below the line. On the other hand, there's also a set of common things that your brain tends to do when it's above the line. You might hit the gas and go towards your desire, which is you doing deep, focused work with total commitment to making this happen. You might also hit the gas and go away from your desire, which is you stepping away to focus on other priorities. It's you saying, hey, it's time to stop. I have to hit the gym. I have to get dinner with my family. I have to hang out with my friends. There's other things that are important to me, and I'm going to put my energy towards that instead. You can also hit the brakes and go towards your desire, which is you doing 80-20 work. It's you asking yourself, what's the minimum that's really needed here? Let's not overinvest. Let's just work smart about this. You can also hit the brakes and go away from your desire, which is you getting real restorative rest, truly stepping away, truly taking a break. And you can also do what I like to call strategic waiting. It's not you freezing, it's you making a conscious decision to wait, to gather more information, to see how things play out, and then decide what you want to do. Like I said, I walk through all this in more detail in part 1 of this series, so you should go check that out if you want to hear me talk more about this. But generally speaking, just for the purposes of figuring out where your brain is, you can just ask yourself, am I somewhere on this matrix? Am I doing one of these things? And if I am, my brain is probably above the line. So once again, a few times today, I just want you to check in and see, just notice, ask yourself, what am I doing right now? Which of those 2 matrices am I on? And based on that, where is my brain? Is it above the line or below the line? Finally, here's way number 3 to figure out where your brain is. You can make mental bookmarks of past times that you've been above the line and below the line, because you know exactly what both of these feel like. You know what it feels like to be stressed out and stuck and feel like you're all over the place. And you also know exactly what it feels like to be locked in and in the zone and be totally in flow. So I want you to just think back to a couple of previous times when you felt both of those ways. And I want you to just take a few seconds, you can literally do it right now, and just remember those examples, remember those times in your life, and then just mentally bookmark those examples in your brain. How were you feeling? What were you doing? What was just kind of the overall flavor of that moment in your life? And then a few times today, I just want you to check in. What's the overall flavor of your current moment that you're experiencing right now? And then which of those 2 mental bookmarks is it closer to? And based on that, you can figure out where your brain is. Is it above the line or below the line? This is all you have to do for today. I just want you to ask yourself a few times during the day, where is my brain? Is it above the line or below the line? Just recognize what your current state is. That's it. You don't have to change anything yet. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into the second R, which is reposition. Make sure that you're subscribed to my email newsletter so you don't miss a thing. You can subscribe at poojav.substack.com, or I've also included the link below. And if you're listening to me talk and you're like, ugh, I don't want to have to wait like a whole week for each little piece of this to come out and I have to do all the work to apply this to myself and my situation, I have a way faster solution for you. Just come talk to me and let me give you some help for your exact situation. You can drop by anytime for a no strings attached coffee chat. You come and tell me what's on your mind, what's the problem you're facing that's making you feel stressed out or stuck, and I will help you pull your brain from below the line to above the line so you can see your situation clearly, and I'll also give you some advice based on the hundreds of hours that I have spent coaching high achievers just like you in very similar situations. And then off you go on your merry way, unstressed and unstuck. The link to book a free coffee chat is above. Or you can also book a consult call and we can map out what a full coaching engagement might look like. I can pull your brain from below the line to above the line one time in an hour, but I can't teach you the whole toolkit for doing that consistently and repeatably in just 1 hour. But I can teach you that over the course of a coaching package. And the sooner that you learn this skill, the sooner that you are going to create the life and the career that you actually want, one that feels just as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. So let's start today. The link to book a free consult call is above. Or if you're listening on Instagram, all the links are in my bio. Or if you're listening on the podcast, all the links are in the episode description.